at that time, at the run-up to trial, I was under a gag order from the court that prohibited me from teaching my son that he was a boy. The courts prohibited me from teaching my son that he was a boy, which meant that I could not teach him traditional Christian doctrine on sexuality and gender. They said I could not present him to any third party that might know him as a girl. I could not present him as a boy to that third party.
And the courts are telling you this.
Correct.
And this is in Texas.
Yes. So I was unable to take my son out in public because I don't know who has seen him as a girl. I got in big trouble one time. We went out boxing out at a park, and the boys had just picked up Judicial, so I was showing them how to get their stance, change their boxing stance for kind of like MMA style. And this girl runs up and says, "Hello, Luna." And he was kind of embarrassed by that, right? So I got in big trouble. That came up at court. They tried to take my kids away from me for that, saying I violated the court order. I could not do that. I could not post anything on the internet or make any public statements which would indicate whether my son was a boy or girl. So I obeyed that crazy order. The way I kind of got around it at home, we say this, we have a traditional prayer called, I'm an Orthodox Christian, so we say the Trisagion prayer every night, 3 times a day actually, nighttime prayer. So I just started after that, as they'd go to sleep, I'd read them the book of Genesis up to the creation of man and woman. That's not me, that's in the book, it's not me teaching them, right? I'm just reading a book. So that's kind of how I got around it. And that came up at trial. They tried to get me on that one too. So
for reading the Bible to
For reading the Bible to my sons, yeah. So we get to trial. I just said we need to just dispense with the idea that we can co-parent these children. We just have such fundamentally different ideas. Like, we don't agree on the anthropology here. Like, we don't even agree on what a human being is, much less how to raise our sons. So I said, let's just dispense with that. I should be sole managing conservator. That means that I should just have all the parental rights. So we got a jury. We impaneled a jury. The jury decided that I should not have sole managing conservatorship. The jury decided that we should try to co-parent. So
hang on. This is a jury.
Yes.
Supposedly of our peers.
Yes.
In the state of Texas.
Yes.
The quote unquote where they buckle the Bible belt.
That's right.
The red state, conservative state of Texas. And a jury says you got to co-parent.
You got to co-parent with
this
a woman.
Philosophical difference. I mean, diametrically opposed.
You got to co-parent with a woman that they heard me testify in court that I believe this is sexual abuse of a child. And they basically said, we expect you to co-parent with a sexual predator. That's basically what they told me. The trial was interesting on some other levels. It became a giant battle in this little courtroom, this little district courtroom in Dallas County. The world's foremost experts in transgender medicine all showed up on both sides. And my preeminent expert was Dr. Levine. And he totally crushed the opposition. And that's the reason that while the jury said we had to co-parent, the judge definitely went my way and gave me the most expanded visitation you can have legally in Texas without being 50-50. And she even said, go to a counselor, get coached on these 9 things like, bullying, unconditionally loving your kids, stuff like that, just parenting stuff. And when you've gone through those 9 things in January or June after the verdict, you'll get 50-50 custody, no child support. So the counselors have never done that with me. They have refused to go through the 9 elements, and therefore I've never been able to get 50-50 custody. But Dr. Levine is the expert. He trained up on my case. And he went to the UK and testified in cases there and got the practice banned there in the UK. He's also testified in Norway, where they've also banned the procedures on children. So he's been a very influential expert, but he trained up on my case, and I paid for it. And I told him, just go forth in the world and kill this stuff. And he's doing it. He's actually doing what he promised me he would do. So once we get out, the court appoints these counselors for my sons, and they refuse to certify me and give me 50-50 custody. They're 100% trans ideologues. It's Dr. Linda Threets and Dr. Susan Fletcher. Dr. Susan Fletcher wanted secret counseling with my sons. So she gets to see my sons. I don't know what she's teaching them, what they talk about. She's not obligated to tell me. And she wanted me to sign an agreement saying I would never even ask my children what she was teaching them or talking to them about.
That's insane.
Okay?
Insanity.
And the court ordered me to sign that document because I refused to sign it. And the court said, we will make adverse inferences. This is Judge Mary Brown. She said, I will make adverse inferences against you and take your children away from you if you do not sign that agreement. So once I had that all documented, I sent an email saying, I'm in fear of losing my children if I don't sign this agreement. And I set it up because I was purely signed it under duress, 100% under duress. Right. So my kids are going to see this counselor, Susan Fletcher, Abbott appointee. I don't think that's an accident, by the way, that the court chose an Abbott appointee. So they're going to see Susan Fletcher, but she only sees my son when he comes from his mother's home in a dress. She refuses to see my son when he comes from my home as a boy. And she said it wasn't clinically significant. Get your head around that for a second. So eventually I get 30 days vacation this summer, this last July. So I set up 2 appointments for my sons with her, and there was no excuse for her this time, so she took them. My son told her at the first appointment that he wants to be a boy all the time, that he wants to go to school as a boy when the school year starts. And Jude noticed that she did not respond. She did not say anything about it like, okay, tell me more, or I hear you. She totally ignored it and didn't write anything down in her notes. My son Jude noticed that. Yeah.